the surface, it might be easy to spotlight the differences between Eugene and Springfield. But as much as the cities might offer striking contrasts in some people's minds, time, among other things, has also brought the two much closer together.
Coming from out of town, I looked at Eugene and Springfield as all one city.
To me, it's just Eugene, Springfield.
The reality has always been that Eugene and Springfield have been more alike than different.
When you really get down to it, there's so many similarities.
I-5 and the Willamette River have long served as the point where the two cities meet, but proximity doesn't tell the whole story as to why the two might be more alike than people realize, and it starts with their roots.
We've always had the stereotype these days that Springfield was a mill town and was redneck sort of and much more conservative than Eugene. In the 1800s, that wasn't the case.
When Eugene Skinner and Elias Briggs rolled into the Willamette Valley in the mid-1800s and set up their respective camps, the landscape was pretty much the same. Eugene at the time was just as dependent on the natural resources that Oregon has long been known for.
But the reality is that Eugene had a huge wood products economy.
We were a timber-based economy for many, many years.
What really differentiated Eugene and Springfield in my mind was the development of the next generation of economy. Eugene diversified much faster than Springfield.
That diversification carried Eugene for decades to come, helping establish not only the physical size of the city, but maybe more importantly, the cultural attitude that went along with housing the state's university.
That really set up the imagery that Eugene was where the university people lived.
And it was imagery that helped divide the two cities for decades to come. But some of the key developments that originally propelled Eugene's growth, like the railroad or steamboat access, are no longer as relevant. And in the last 25 years, at least three key factors have helped drastically alter the landscape.
Arguably, you could go back to Sony's decision to locate in Springfield back in the mid-90s.
Sony's decision to build a CD manufacturing plant signaled a change. Springfield was not only ready to expand, but was no longer looking for wood products companies to employ its residents, a characteristic the budding north end of the city continued to build on.
Companies like Sony, Royal Caribbean, Symantec, PeaceHealth. Some of those were migrations of companies who were here going there, so I think even that kind of starts to blur the line.
PeaceHealth was probably the most high-profile example of the new Springfield, and the facility that probably contributes the most to that blurred vision of the two cities. Thousands of Eugene patients who historically sought out their health care needs in the University District of Eugene, now having to cross the freeway to do it.
And perhaps the hospital is the best example. A brand new campus in Springfield, two campuses here in Eugene, their economic future is tied to Eugene Springfield.
And in between Sony and the hospital, you have Glenwood. It's the one chunk of land that doesn't simply lie on one side of the river and the freeway. Glenwood is the community that up until 1998 was controlled by Eugene. And if the Gateway area shines as an example of what Springfield has done to make up for lost opportunities, Glenwood is also emblematic of its progress.
To me, this is an exciting time to be representing the city of Springfield.
What Gateway and Glenwood represent in the broader scope is the city's diversification. Like Eugene, it's no longer dependent on just one industry for its success.
Now that they've emerged from a wood products economy to a more diversified technology economy, again, they're both the same.
No longer dependent on another city for its growth.
I think Springfield has broadened its horizons considerably. That's taken a long time coming, but when your primary industry is lumber, there was really no need for any other mindset.
Today, I would say Springfield has as many advantages going for it as Eugene does.
I think the most common thing I hear from business community members is that it's one economic market.
And with the two cities' economies growing closer together, cultural similarities now come into play as well.
You could find really nice places in both and really awful places in both.
They both have the same bad people.
People don't think that methamphetamine's in Eugene, they're wrong. If people don't think that there's weed smoking in Springfield, they're wrong. There's hippies in Springfield, there's meth people in Eugene. Eugene has the Holt Center. We now have the Wildest Theater.
I think you would be hard-pressed to say that Springfield is not a cross-section of humanity, and the same thing for Eugene.
There's great people in both communities.
To think that both cities somehow don't have upscale neighborhoods, or that they don't both have their respective troubled spots, is short-sighted. And as it pertains to troubled spots, both governments have also shared the struggle of how best to resurrect their downtowns.
I know it can happen, but it's the toughest job I've ever had in my life. Downtowns are very tough.
I guess I think the real truth about downtown Eugene is that we all would like to be there to be a little bit more there.
In Eugene's case, it's largely a matter of what's missing.
There are parts of downtown today that work really well. East Broadway, 5th Street, parts of West Broadway. So what we're really working on are some gaping holes, figuratively and literally.
While in Springfield, it has more to do with the nature of the tenants who are there.
The rents of or the lease of their buildings that they occupy are fairly insignificant, so therefore, this type of business, they're profitable. Once we start getting property values up, it, to me, is be much more challenging for a business of that type to be able to be successful in the downtown corridor.
But maybe the most surprising similarity between the two is found in the political arena. If you were to look to the leaders of each city, you would see superficially they have nothing in common. One leans to the right, the other to the left. However,
that's been a big misconception in my mind that there's vast differences in the way Eugene and Springfield have voted.
And the truth is, both cities in the last 4 straight presidential elections have both voted Democrat.
I find that a wonderful surprise.
Well, I am a bit surprised.
Well, DeFazio lives there, so maybe he has some pull.
You don't vote for Bush if you're in the laboring community.
Lane County traditionally is a Democratic stronghold.
So if the two have become more alike politically and economically than ever before, what is it that keeps them from morphing into one big metropolitan area? The answer lies within the hearts and minds of the people who live on each side of the river.